Yeah, I just want to say thanks again for your willingness to sit down and talk with us, Dennis,
Very good.
for a bit. Again, based upon the conversation you had the other night with Levi at Grand Valley, and talking about your own personal experience of being forcibly removed from your family and put in a government school, I'm wondering, I mean, some people might argue that taking Native children out of their own homes and their own communities and putting them in white schools, while was a bad thing, was maybe well intentioned. Um, but other folks might say that it was just another tactic that the government was using in sort of a larger genocidal war against Native nations. Is it important for people to understand there's a distinction between this was just sort of a well-intended sort of policy, or this was a policy that was part of a larger campaign to control Native
Well,
people?
it was a social experiment that the government planned on, and they carried out. But it had a very devastating toll. It didn't. The idea was to transform our minds into non-Indian thinking people and students. Um, that was a very tricky thing. First of all, it was hard for them to accomplish that because of our spiritual and our national background with as Indian people, as Ojibways, Anishinaabes, because we've always thought about the earth as our mother. We've always thought about the moon as our grandmother. We've always thought about the sun as our oldest brother. And you know, and the sky is the father. You know, and excuse me. So for them to try to transform us into Christian-like Indian people, it was very hard for them to do that. And when they realized that they could not do it gentle, they couldn't be a real easy approach to it or a soft approach to it, then they started using brutal methods. And this is what has pained a lot of students, and this is what has left a lot of pain with the students who went through all that abuse.
I was reading from one history text recently that the kind of the philosophy behind the forced removal of Native children was summed up by Captain Richard Pratt, who said, "Kill the Indian, save the man." But even before Pratt, there was a U.S. Indian commissioner named William Dole who said, "Children leaving even the best of training schools for their homes are like swine returning to their wallowing filth and barbarism." I mean, how important do you think it is for people to come to terms with this sort of mentality, which again was a matter of official policy? It's not like there were just a few bad people. This was a policy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was. We knew. Well, we could tell right away what the experiment was about, and a lot of us started to run away from those schools, and people ran away from those schools before I was there. And when I was there, then I just continued that process of young children running away from those schools. And what happened, though, they would bring us back to the schools. They would find us and they'd catch us 2 miles down the road or 10 miles down the road or 50 miles down the road. And then they'd bring us back and they'd beat us. I went through there 11 times. I ran away from those schools 11 times, beaten each time. One thing, they never beat me around the face. There was always strappings on my back, and and I don't think that the mothers and fathers were well aware of this corporal punishment that was going on. I mean, had they done it, I'm sure they would have released them, released us sooner than the rest. But as I said, it was hard for even parents then. A lot of people, a lot of kids who went home for the summer, many of them did not return. And because the parents began to hear stories about what was going on at the schools, and they wouldn't let the kids come back. And many times, some of them had to be by force. They brought them back, but the people that were there year round, such as myself, we never got to go home, and we were part of the experiment that would, I guess that was where the most damage was being done. They were hurting us, hurting our minds, and attempting to make non-Indians out of us.
I mean, obviously, you're a survivor of that reality, and not just a survivor. I mean, you've done really important things, I think, for your community, and inspired a lot of people. How much do you think your sort of cultural identity as an Indian helped you to, gave you sort of resiliency skills in order to be able to sort of survive that kind of traumatic experience?
I think it helped me a great deal. My upbringing and raising till I was 4 or 5. I think that was enough to keep me running away. It was enough to keep me saying, I don't like this. It was enough to keep me from embracing what the experiment was about. And it alerted me in my survival skills that you've got to survive this. And this is very bad, but you've got to survive it. And I think you will survive. So just keep resisting. And that's what I did. I mean, in spite of them, they would try to make mockery of my, they would shave my hair, they'd catch me, make me wear a dress for a couple of days. But each beating gave me a little more strength to saying, I'm gonna keep going. And they would often ask, why do you keep running away, Dennis? Because you're going to get a licking. You're going to get punished each time we catch you. And I said, well, maybe that's what I gotta go through. But I'm never going to accept this. I'm never going to like it. I'm always going to hate it.
I've worked a bit in Guatemala amongst the Mayan population there, and they always speak about enduring the kind of hardship that European and Americans have sort of imposed on them as because they've been able to maintain sort of this 500 years of resistance sort of mentality, that they sort of see themselves as part of this long historical group of people who've been able to sort of resist and fight the efforts to extinguish them. Is that just a part of Native consciousness, this idea that we have this long history, this long tradition of sort of resisting this effort by, particularly the white man to do this?
I don't think that that we endured because it was going to get over. I think we endured because we knew that we would not only endure, but we would prevail. And to me, that's the key to how we survived these boarding schools, was that the knowledge that was already embedded in us, even as 4 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, is that we had a very distinct way of life, which was safeguarding us, and which would protect us. To this day, I still look back at those things that I did. I even offered tobacco. I don't know why I do that, but I would offer tobacco and sing a song. So I think we endured because we knew we had to do it, and not really keeping a hatred for our white brothers and sisters. So